And as we start here at 4 o'clock today, we're on breaking news. Englewood Police investigating a shooting they were involved in that had a chase and a crash. It all ended in Littleton. Thanks for joining us. I'm Tom Green.
And I'm Kim Christensen. This started along South Santa Fe Drive, just north of West Hamden, near a storage unit facility. It all came to halt with a crash. It happened about 6 miles south of Mineral and South Santa Fe in Littleton. Eastbound lanes are still closed at that intersection. That's where we find our Jaleesa Rosari with the latest. Jaleesa?
Yeah, Tom and Kim, this crash happened at Santa Fe and Mineral around noon, and 4 hours later, we still have quite an active scene here. Now, the northbound side of Santa Fe still has one lane closed, so traffic is moving slowly as police continue to investigate this situation. Now, here's what we know. This all started in Englewood on South Santa Fe near a storage unit facility around 11 a.m. Englewood police say they were investigating a suspicious incident involving a man and a woman. Police say the man, the driver, did not comply with officers' orders and started driving towards those officers, and they shot at him. The driver then took off and started a pursuit that lasted 6 miles and ended when the driver was going the wrong way on South Santa Fe and crashed into 2 cars at Mineral Avenue. 2 people were sent to the hospital with minor injuries. The silver car at the scene is riddled with bullet holes and its back window shattered. An Englewood public information officer says she believes the suspect was shot at the initial scene. Just a few minutes ago, she shared the status of the suspect in this case. This is what she had to say.
The driver, identified as Sansala David, was transported to the hospital with a single gunshot wound and has since been released and will be transported to the Arapahoe County Detention Facility. Charges will be finalized as the investigation is completed. The female was taken into custody at the original scene and will also be transported to the Arapahoe County Detention Facility on unrelated warrants.
Now, the CERT team is on scene investigating this shooting. The internal investigation for the Englewood Police Department is also happening at the same time. Reporting in Littleton, Jaleesa Rosari, 9 News.
Thanks for the update, Jaleesa. Thank you.
Well, let's take another look outside where you can see a lot of blue sky, warm weather as well. The last Monday of April. May is just around the corner following that wet weekend. Nice to see all that sunshine today. Kathy's with us now taking a look at our week, and boy, things change nicely.
It's interesting, Tom, because May is our wettest month on average. That's the month we expect a rainstorm like we saw over the weekend, and sometimes a rain and snowstorm like we saw. So here we go, pretty soon into the month of May. It'll be interesting to see how this month plays out. But today, as you mentioned, a beautiful day, a wonderful way to start the week after a stormy weekend with sunshine, 60s today. Still taking some runs up on the Loveland ski hill. Look at that, they're having a great time. A little bit of light snow over the weekend for the mountains, kind of freshen up that snowpack. We start with sunshine and 70s this week. We've got a midweek storm coming in, and that means showers and thunderstorms are back in the forecast. So we'll be talking about rain on Wednesday and Thursday. 64 in Denver, 77 in Lamar, 54 in Kremling, almost 70 in Grand Junction. The leading edge of the next system is approaching from the northwest. For now, high pressure's hanging on. Off to the east of us is the severe thunderstorm threat again outside of Houston, Memphis, into Chicago and Minneapolis. So those areas, there were like 150 tornadoes from portions of Nebraska to Texas, and they're looking at a severe weather threat in those same areas again tomorrow. That's something we'll be talking about in Maine weather coming up. There's a little bit of snow over the northern mountains, not enough that will impact your travel, and actually it's pretty nice on I-70 this afternoon. Thunderstorm threat low today, always nice when we can say that. And we've got a partly to mostly clear evening, a sunny day tomorrow, tracking that next system that will be here Wednesday into Thursday. So if you're headed out and about tonight, why not? Maybe watching our Nuggets at Ball Arena. You're going to have a great evening to be out and about with temperatures in the 60s. It's going to get colder later this week. I'll have the timing and your extended forecast in detail in just a bit.
We have a major update in one of the most closely followed murder cases in our state. Months after her body was found, the autopsy released today shows Suzanne Morphew's cause of death was homicide. She was the mother of 2 who went missing outside of Salida in 2020, and then her remains were found 3 years later in a shallow grave in Saguache County. 9 News reporter Mark Salinger has been following this case from the very beginning and has the latest. Mark?
Yeah, this is a big update, Tom and Kim. The autopsy reveals that Suzanne Morphew had sedatives and tranquilizers in her body when she died. For years now, prosecutors have been pointing the finger at her husband, Barry Morphew, saying he killed her using a tranquilizer.
Nearly 4 years after Suzanne Morphew went missing, we now know how she died.
Homicide, the autopsy says. What's written above could offer new clues for investigators to find who killed her. The autopsy found 3 drugs in Suzanne's bones. They're sedatives and tranquilizers, often used on animals. That's important. For years, prosecutors alleged her husband, Barry Morphew, shot Suzanne with a tranquilizer before killing her. Barry was charged with her murder before her remains were found, but charges were dropped days before the case was set to go to trial.
Yes, Barry is innocent.
Jane Fisher-Byrielson is an attorney representing Barry Morphew. Speaking only to 9 News, she argues anyone could have shot Suzanne with a tranquilizer.
She was on a bike ride and abducted. The tranquilizer that was found in her bones, allegedly, is a very common animal tranquilizer that could be used on farms or by hunters, which are people that are very prevalent in that area in Salida.
The arrest affidavit used to take Barry into custody in 2020 mentioned tranquilizers. The plastic cover of a tranquilizer was found in the Morphew home by investigators. It was wrapped up in sheets from the bed and placed in the dryer.
We have no idea how much of it was in her, when it got there, how it got there, so I think that really just gives us even more unanswered questions.
Police won't say whether Barry is still a suspect in this case, as Barry's attorneys maintain he's innocent. Barry's attorneys say a bullet was found in the shallow grave with Suzanne in Saguache County there. They don't know whether it was used or not. They also tell us that Suzanne's feet bones were missing, so were her shoes. I'm Mark Salinger, 9 News.
There are so many questions still. I mean, this does open up at least some avenues for people to start to think about what actually did happen to Suzanne Morphew. But I get the feeling you're almost left with more questions than answers now still about some of the parts of her death that we don't know.
And at this point, it's important to point out that we don't know if there are any suspects. We don't know where Barry is. We don't know if they're looking at any other suspects. Barry's attorneys say, why are they only looking at him? There should be other people. Of course, now this new autopsy provides new evidence that those investigators will use.
It's been very slow. When you think about it, it's going to be 4 years this Mother's Day.
4 years this Mother's Day.
And then they didn't even find her body until 3 years into this.
Exactly. And I believe that tomorrow is Suzanne's birthday as well. Of course, her family wanting answers and some sense of closure to all of this.
You bet. All right. Thank you, Mark. You're taking a live look at the Clear Creek County Courthouse, where attorneys for former Deputy Andrew Buen and prosecutors are meeting right now with the judge. They're talking about what's next in this case after a jury hung on Friday on the 2 most serious charges against Buen for the 2022 shooting of Christian Glass. Since that verdict, we've learned a lone holdout kept the jury from convicting Buen on second-degree murder and official misconduct. In her first interview since the trial, the foreperson of the jury told 9 News reporter Steve Steger that a single juror appeared biased about police, claiming during deliberations the juror said that police can make mistakes and that officers should have immunity. Christy Engelkirk told us the jury voted 10-2, nearly within 30 minutes of deliberations, to convict Buen. She says the other no vote eventually came around, but this single juror was determined to hang on murder charges. Engelkirk says as prosecutors determine whether or not to retry Buen, she hopes he realizes he was nearly convicted last week.
I also hope that Buen will just plead guilty, because the family has been through so much, and I think it would be really hard on the family to have to sit through that again. And I think that I'm hoping that he sees this message and sees how close he was to being convicted of murder, and that he takes a deal and doesn't put the family through this.
Our Steve Steger is continuing our coverage, getting updates in the courtroom as we speak. We'll have much more coming up at 5 o'clock. And we're heading into night 5 of protests at Denver's Auraria campus, where students and community members are calling on universities to divest out of interest in Israel.
Now, today, MSU Denver did say that it does support the students' right to protest, but also said demonstrators were breaking policy by camping right there on property. 9 News reporter Brianna Clark is now live at the protest. This, of course, Brianna, the last week of classes before finals. And all this is happening as some students are now finding out that they're going to have to go remote.
Yeah, that's the case for Community College of Denver. Students tell me they got the notice about 10 minutes before a planned protest, or a planned walkout rather, forcing them to go remote the week before graduation. This is video from that rally, which started at noon. It lasted for several hours and remained peaceful. It's a much different scene today than on Friday, when at least 40 protesters again were arrested for trespassing. A lot of students are multitasking today, studying for finals while also standing up in support for Palestinians.
Being the best student is being out here, being loud, disrupting classes. Like, I just got an email from my president saying that classes are going online throughout the remainder of the week because of like a threat to like safety. This isn't a threat to safety. People are out here, we're singing music, we're making art.
Yeah, as you just heard, Chase does not think it's because of safety reasons. It's pretty peaceful here right now. Folks were just chanting. He believes it's a way for administration to control the number of people here at this protest. He thinks if they're not in class, if they're at home, they're not here witnessing it and being part of it. Live in Denver, Brianna Clark, 9 News.
All right, Brianna, thanks for the update from Auraria.